Sometimes we call it the judicial branch, sometimes we call it the judiciary, but they both mean the same thing, the court system. The national courts handle federal laws and the Constitution. The state courts handle state and local laws. Within the state courts, there are 3 levels: local courts, county courts, and appeals courts. Local courts handle smaller issues like traffic tickets. County courts are the main trial courts in a state. And appeals courts hear cases that have already been tried in the lower courts by people hoping for a different outcome. There are 2 main types of cases: civil cases and criminal cases. A civil case is a case between 2 or more people. There are 2 parties in a civil case: the defendant, who is the person being accused of doing something wrong, and the plaintiff, the person who is accusing the other person of wrongdoing. A criminal case is when the government accuses someone of a crime. A crime is a behavior that breaks the law. There are 2 types of crimes: misdemeanors and felonies. Misdemeanors are less serious crimes, like littering. A misdemeanor is punished by less than a year in jail, a fine, or both. Felonies are more serious crimes, like murder or arson. Punishments for felonies include prison sentences over 1 year, large fines, or both. Both the state and federal court systems have 2 types of courts: trial courts and appeals courts. Trial courts handle trials, just like their name suggests. They usually have a jury. The plaintiff and defendant each tell their side of the story and provide evidence. The jury must study this information and decide which side has more proof. This is called the weight of evidence. In a criminal trial, the prosecutor is the lawyer who represents the government. The prosecutor must show evidence to prove that the defendant is guilty of breaking the law. This is called the burden of proof. The final decision in a case is called the verdict. In order for the defendant to be found guilty, a jury must be convinced beyond reasonable doubt that they committed the crime. This means that they are 100% sure and have 0 doubts. Appeals courts hear cases that have already been through a trial court, but their first trial is believed to have been unfair or new evidence has appeared. Appeals courts don't have juries. Instead, a judge looks at the record from the original trial and listens to lawyers representing each side of the case, and then makes a decision. Judges are the most powerful and important government officials in the judicial branch. The judge is the authority in the courtroom. He or she gives instructions to the jury, determines which side's argument is most in keeping with the law, directs the proceedings of the trial, and remains neutral. Judges enforce the jury's decision and assign punishments. They take their responsibility very seriously.